What I tell people is a marathon, not a sprint. It's a long game. So you're not going to have success necessarily overnight, but if you continue to do it little by little, day by day, you will start to see that growth. And that's really awesome. It's really nice to see that my book has, reached audience, readers and resonated with them.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Writing Inspirations with Markee Books. Here we have our new guest for today. Say hello to Morgan Gauthier. Sorry if I didn't pronounce it correctly.
No, you got it close. It's hard. It's Morgan Gauthier. It's Cajun French.
Okay, thank you. So Morgan, how are you feeling? How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. Actually, it's my mother's birthday, so I was celebrating not too long ago.
Oh, well, tell her I said happy birthday.
Thank you. How long have you been a writer?
I think most writers have the typical answer of they've been writing since they were little. I started writing stories when I was about 11, and I started to seriously write books when I was about 14. I didn't publish until I was 29, but I definitely had a love for storytelling, and I used to write plays at first, and then I turned into writing books, and I haven't looked back since.
I get it. I also started with scripts.
Yeah.
So, what did spark that interest in you?
When I was younger, Lord of the Rings really inspired me to dive deeper into fantasy. I loved the books, I loved the movies, and it just became my obsession as a teenager. And then you dive deeper into Chronicles of Narnia, and you pick up all these fantasy books from the library and the bookstore, and it just became a passion. And yeah, that's kind of where it started. And I started writing stories of my own featuring characters that looked more like me and I related to a little bit more. And yeah, that's kind of where the passion started for me.
Right. So, are you like a full-time writer right now, or are you balancing the job with other things?
I am a stay-at-home mom, and I write when I have the ability to. So being a stay-at-home mom has been my toughest job ever, but it's a great job. It's really rewarding. I love my kids, but yeah, whenever I can carve out some time, typically in the mornings, I do my writing and kind of stick to a routine so that I have my time and then I've got kid time.
Oh, when the kids are in school.
Yes. Yeah. They all just started school for the first time this year. As in, I have a second grader, a kindergartner, and a pre-Ker. So it's the first year that I've been at home by myself.
So, do you like self-publish or you have a publisher behind?
Right now, I've just done indie publishing. I just signed a contract with an agent in September. Her name is Cole, and she and I are working on my first traditional published book. So if all goes well, I have one out hopefully in a year or two. But yeah, I've been an indie author up until this point.
Okay. How is your writing experience these days?
Well, since the kids all are in school now, I have dedicated time. So it's not me trying to get 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, or write in my notebook whenever I can. I actually have a few hours that I can dedicate to writing before I have to get other errands run or clean up the house, something like that, since I do stay at home.
Ooh, summer break was hard, huh?
Oh yeah, summer break was hard. I didn't get much done, but I'm taking advantage of the school year to try and get as many projects done as I can before end of May next year, and they're home.
Well, at least for a little bit.
Yeah, I have a little bit of time.
I will say too for the Christmas free time, but honestly, no one works in Christmas, or mostly you're busy with other things like cooking, etc.
Yeah, the holidays. It's definitely not a working time over here since the kids have break and all that. So I will try to fit it in when I can if I'm working on a deadline. But otherwise, I do take time off to just be present with them.
So, how long did you take to complete your first published book?
Oh, well, I started writing the first book when I was 14, and it was an off and on project. I would leave it and do other things and come back to it. And I took it seriously a few years ago, and it took me I would say about 2 years to take it seriously enough front to back to write it. And then I published it in 2021, April of 2021.
And since then, you have kept the momentum.
Yeah, I have 7 published books out right now. I'm working on an 8. Yeah, so
In 3 years.
it's
That's
definitely been good.
amazing.
Yeah. It's I was putting out 2 a year up until this year. I've only put out 1 this year so far, but it's been great. I'm excited to be finishing books. I didn't think I'd ever be able to finish writing a book because it's really hard sometimes to finish, but I've been having a lot of fun.
I'm happy to hear that. So, how's your writing routine? How do you prepare when you start writing a new book?
I am a plotter, so I like to map out a story. I'm not married to it in the sense of if the characters take on a little bit more like an adventure or romance or something, I'll listen to what's going on and how it's flowing. But I will have, point A, point B, point C. And typically I really know how it begins and how it ends. And then I have to connect those points. So I definitely like to plot.
Okay, that's not that's nice. That's nice. So,
Yeah.
do you have like any advice you will give to new writers with your experience, of course?
Yeah. I always tell people not to compare yourself to other writers. Everybody has their own pace. Everybody has their own method, and there's no right or wrong way to get your book written. My madness might not be your madness, but it's just taking the time to actually get it done. So I might be a plotter, you might be a pantser, but as long as you're getting it done your way, that's the most important part.
Yeah, that's true. In the end, there are many ways and certain methods that you're going to find everywhere. And most might be proven correct in a way, but
Yeah.
you are the one who decide what works best at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
Yeah.
So, have you ever had like a writer's block before?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
How did you
It's
overcome that?
typically I'll put the project I'm working on down and I'll start something different, something completely new, just to get out of my funk. And typically that works. So stepping away from the project for a little while it gives my head a time to breathe. And then I come back to it with a fresh set of eyes or a fresh perspective. And then I can typically finish it after that.
Oh, do you have like a favorite activity you always do?
Like a hobby. So as far as hobbies goes, I love to read. I love playing disc golf with my husband, and I'm just like a homebody. So I love a good candle on. I love getting cozied up in a blanket and binge watching shows, honestly, with some snacks. That's the sweet spot for me.
That sounds lovely. So, talking a bit about your books, do you have like a story of how you named your series or your first book?
Um, it was hard to name the first book. The first book I ever wrote was this green one. It's called Wolves of Adalor. It's the first of this trilogy over here. And then we have the Song of Shadow and Starlight series. And that's these two. There's 2 more books coming. So it's a 4-book series. But Wolves of Adalor came about because, or like the title did, the main characters that you follow, there's 3 siblings, and their family crest is a white wolf. So wolves, and then Adalor is the continent. So Wolves of Adalor. If it kind of flowed off the tip of my tongue, and I was like, hey, I like it. Let's run with it. So that's how that one came up.
It's usually like that. It's never that complicated. For most people, at least for the people I have interviewed, it just came to be like it's so simple. Like it sounds right. It rhymes. It can be anything.
Yeah, I love a good title that flows off the tip of the tongue, or it's got like a very certain like rhythmic cadence to it. So like a Song of Shadow and Starlight. I love the S's. And the second one is A Ballad of Beast and Brothers. So I have that one going with same kind of like the different letters, but the same flow, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The secret is just not to make it too long, but not too short either. Mostly because not because short titles are bad, but most short title has been used. That's the reality.
Yeah. It's hard to find like a a title of its own, I like to make sure my titles aren't already taken. So I'll be Google searching and Goodreadsing, searching it. And so far, so good.
Yeah. Do you have like a main message on your series?
I'm known for witty banter. I'm known for found family and very relatable, flawed characters. So I really want readers, when they pick up my book, to find somebody in there that they can see themselves and maybe learn something about themselves or feel seen, feel heard. I am very big with mental health representation in my books as well. So especially the song, A Song of Shadow and Starlight, that series definitely dives deep into mental health representation, and just finding yourself, coming of age, battling your own demons. So if I can help somebody escape for just a little while, I consider that a huge win.
Yes, it is. Okay. By the way, so your books are in the fantasy genre mostly, right?
Yeah.
They have other tags.
Yeah. So the Mark of the Hunter trilogy, The Wolves of Avalor, that's going to be more epic fantasy. It's more for fans who like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Throne of Glass. So people who like a lot of characters, a lot of intersecting storylines, lots of action and adventure, magic, that old school fantasy feel. And then A Song of Shadow and Starlight, that series is going to be a romantasy. So it's very romance heavy, but there's still a lot of action and magic, but it's very heavy with the romance, very key plot point.
Oh, I see. So you decide to adventure in another type of story after that you finish the first series.
I did. Yeah, the story came to me and it's a Rapunzel retelling, and it's for fans who love the elemental magic of Avatar: The Last Airbender and the found family of A Court of Thorn and Roses. And people who love the different types of characters of Dungeons and Dragons, like trolls and elves and dwarves. So if you're into that sort of fantasy, very heavy on the romance, that would be my pick for you.
So, can you tell me a little bit about what your most recent book is about?
Well, the one I'm working on right now is for my agent, so I can't talk too much about that one. But the next project I'll be working on is the third book in the Shadow and Starlight series. So that one is called A Tale of Trial and Torment, and I'm pretty sure it's going to hurt a lot of readers' feelings, because hence the title, right? A Tale of Trial and Torment. I think it's foreshadowing what's to come.
Self-explanatory.
But that's the one that's up next on my docket.
Right. So, what is your favorite book from the ones you have made so far?
I would say that's like picking your favorite child, right? That's a hard decision. I think the latest one I wrote, so like Ballad of Beast and Brothers, the one that came out this year, it's the sequel in the Shadow and Starlight series. That one, it just meant a lot to me writing it. It was very therapeutic for me and what I was going through in life. But the characters just had so much growth, and there was so much excitement. There was a lot of adventure, and there's dragons and magic, and it's just a really fun story, while it's packaged with the mental health representation. So I would say that one. The characters mean they mean a lot to me.
Right. Okay. So, do you have like any other advice for new writers related to, covers or services, for their books?
Yeah, I would do your research. There's a lot of great cover artists, different price ranges. So when I go to look to commission a cover, I look at bookstores and see what might be popular or what's standing out on the shelf, right? And then I'll see if I can commission somebody with a certain aesthetic. I put together a Pinterest board or something to give that artist the idea and like a vibe behind the story. And I know AI is very rampant these days. I'm against AI in art and covers. So I would make sure that if you're against AI, you make sure your artist is also a no AI cover artist, so that you get something that's completely artist made, if that makes sense. So so that would be my advice. Do your research.
So, what would you say is your largest goal or dream as an author?
Ooh, my goal is to provide for my family. And my ultimate goal would be to pay off my house and make it so that my husband didn't have to work anymore if he didn't want to. It'd be really, really nice for him to be able to retire early since he has a very stressful job. So that would be the ultimate goal.
Do you have like a top experience when interacting with readers? Like
Oh,
something
I
that you
love.
never forgot?
Yeah, I had a few signings, in-person signings this year, and it was really nice meeting readers in person. I've had readers give me handmade gifts based on my books, and that's like something that really touched me. I have them, they're on my shelf, like they're proudly displayed. So I've got people who've made me friendship bracelets based on my characters. I have people who have they did origami dragons based on my dragons, and there's somebody who did a keychain of my book cover. So I love those little tokens. I even had somebody make a candle based on my characters, what they thought they smelled like, and give it to me. So little gifts like that, it just makes you feel so nice. It's like the characters resonated with them so much, and the world made them feel so welcomed that they wanted to give me something in return, and that always touches my heart a little bit.
Yeah, it's lovely. Kind of blew me away.
Oh, I know. I love it. Smells so good.
Okay, so are you planning to adventure in new genres later on? Horror or comedy or stuff like that.
I have written contemporary romantic comedies. I have two of them out. Those I call them my palate cleansers because fantasy can be so heavy, especially with like the world building and the action and the adventure and like coming up with all these names and worlds. So contemporary it's really nice to just be in a world that we all know, right? You know what a coffee shop looks like. You know what
Like a Hallmark movie.
Yes, exactly. So it's like it's got a little humor. It has a happily ever after. It's really nice to just get away from the heaviness of fantasy and do something really fun and light with contemporary romance. So I have a couple of those out. I would love to write a few more. Right now, I'm very fantasy heavy with my schedule, my deadlines, and expectations. But eventually, I would love to put out some more lighthearted rom-coms.
Yeah, that would be nice too. So, do you like have like a support network with friends or other writers that help you with your books?
Yeah, I have a lot of author friends. They all have different walks of life, and some of them write different genres than me. But there's two people who have really been there for me quite a while, and they're also my author critique partners. So in the early writing stages with rough drafts, like they'll read chapters of my book, give me feedback based on the story or the characters. So I know that I'm hitting my plot points or my pacing, and I'll do the same for them. So if you guys are interested in more fantasy, very heavy fantasy romance, I would check out Hillary Raymer. And if you guys like sports romance, like hockey romance, I would check out Gabby Dixon. Those are my two writing partners.
Oh, I think I saw her on Instagram. Okay.
Oh, yeah. They're both heavily involved on Instagram and their books are amazing. I highly recommend them, not just because they're my friends, but like their books are really, really good. So, two different genres, two different authors, but they've definitely helped me quite a bit when it comes to my storytelling.
Okay. So, what do you think is the biggest challenge you had to overcome since you became a writer?
Oh, my perfectionism. I want everything to be perfect, and I'm always in competition with myself. So every book I write, I want the book I'm currently writing to be better than the last book I published because I want my craft to continue to grow, right? I want to continue to be better than I was before. So the perfectionist in me sometimes looks back at my first book and I'm like, oh, I could have done so much better. But then I realized it was the best for where I was at. And it was the best writing in 2021. But now I'm writing my best in 2024. So it's giving yourself some grace, right? To know that you're growing. And it's really cool when you see your first book and then you see your current book and you're like, wow, I've grown so much. My craft has improved so much. And I think that should be every writer's goal, honestly, is you don't come out perfect. And the name of the game is improving and having longevity. So hopefully I'm able to do both of those.
Yeah. So, how do you handle sales and marketing yourself?
Oh, it's hard. It's hard because social media is very prevalent in marketing books, and the algorithm, it changes all the time. So once you feel like you've got your groove, it changes, and then you got to figure out a new thing to do. So it's not easy, but consistently posting, consistently putting reels out, consistently going to signings and meeting readers and meeting new readers. It's just what I tell people is it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's a long game. So you're not going to have success necessarily overnight, but if you continue to do it little by little, day by day, you will start to see that growth.
Right. So, what do you think like your biggest accomplishment since you started?
Oh, I've hit bestseller lists, and that's been really awesome.
Ooh,
It's
nice.
nice. It's really nice to see that my book has, reached audience, readers, and like resonated with them. Something about the cover or the storyline or the comps spoke to them, and they gave my book a chance. So just to know that there's so many people out there reading my books is a huge dream come true.
Right. So, how do you stay like creatively inspired?
Oh, my brain doesn't ever turn off. It's always going. So I could be inspired by a painting. I could be inspired by a song. I could be inspired by just a thought on a walk, So I do have notebooks filled with vague ideas for characters or different plot lines. So eventually I'll get to them, but I have to try to remain focused. It's easy to get distracted by a new shiny idea when you're in the trenches of finishing a book. So, yeah.
It is. Hey,
Yeah.
inspiration comes from anywhere. I heard a story about an author that literally was just taking coffee on, I think it's Starbucks, and then he heard like a couple fighting, and then he just took notes about it because because it was so trashes that he wanted to add that to his story.
I love it. I love it.
It happens. Something happens.
It does. I love that so much.
Yeah. So, do you have already your plans for your series after the one you're doing right now?
Yeah, I have to write books 3 and 4 in the Shadow and Starlight series.
In what platforms we can like buy your books?
Yeah, my books are available on Amazon, and they're also available. Most of them are available through online retailers like Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, Walmart, in Waterstones, Indigo Books. So if you search online, you should be able to find them. You can also buy some of them direct from me. I do have like a holiday form up right now, so people can order signed copies before the holidays.
That's nice. Are you planning to do like a Black Friday sale?
I don't think so. I just don't have enough time to like get it all prepared since I'm a one-woman army right now. So
Yeah,
with Thanksgiving
it's
and the
understandable.
holidays, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a busy time of year.
So, are you planning like to go to an event like in person so people can meet you?
Yeah, I have several events next year. They're all in the United States right now. I would love to travel internationally one day, but for now, I will be going to a Polycon in Washington, D.C. That's in April. I'll be at Imaginarium Book Festival in D.C. in June. And then I'll also be it's called Villains and Vixens. That's in Dallas in September. There's Tennessee LitCon in September, and that's in Tennessee. And then there's 2 more. There's Book Harvest Fest in Chicago, and that's in October, and RomanticyCon in Orlando in 2025 in October. So I've got a bunch of signings going on. Yeah.
Very far.
I'll be traveling a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited to travel, but then I'm also an introvert, so it's like hard for me to travel sometimes.
if you have someone who can take care of the kids, or are you plan to bring them with you?
Some of them, the kids and my husband will come, like we'll make them little mini vacations. Otherwise, I do have friends or I have a few readers who have become really good friends who have offered to be my assistant for the event. So I won't be going by myself, thankfully, but it's definitely going to take a lot of planning. There's a lot of them. So I'm really excited.
I think Orlando and Washington will be fine. I don't know about Dallas. I don't know if it's like a touristic place you can go.
Yeah. there's a lot of because it's in the middle of the United States, basically a lot of East Coast and West Coast people kind of go halfway. So Dallas and Chicago is definitely a halfway point for a lot of people. So we'll see. It's supposed to be a really nice turnout. So it'll be nice. I have family in Texas I'm gonna see. That's why we're gonna take the kids. So it's gonna be like a 2-for-1 thing, a vacation and a signing.
Right. So do you have like a social media where people can like contact you and talk to you?
Yeah. If y'all follow me on Instagram, it's at author Morgan Gauthier. Actually, all my handles are the same across Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Threads. It's just at author Morgan Gauthier. I try to keep it simple for myself. Too many usernames is tough. And if anybody needs to get a hold of me immediately, I do have a business email that's listed on my Instagram.
Right. I'm happy to hear that. Well, thank you so much for coming, Morgan. I think that's all for now. I hope we can talk again in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I enjoy talking with you.
Me too. Well, this was another episode of Writing Inspirations with Markee Books. Say goodbye to our guest, Morgan. Bye, Morgan. Thank you for coming and joining us today.
Bye. Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching us. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.